Okay, part three. I think this is going to be like 50 parts. I don't know. But I will say this after the loss of my son Christopher at 10 months, 5 days old, that changed me forever. So let me just try to make it brief here because this is where I get angry. The police called us in to the station and said that they were closing out the case, and when a child passes away, they have to get police involved. So remember the two men in suits, those were detectives. So my husband and myself went to the precinct, and they separated us immediately. And I'll never forget this. I just will never forget this. I was in that interrogation room for hours and hours and hours. And I guess my husband was in another interrogation room. And this man, I'm not going to say his name. I've called him here and there over the years and just questioned why? Why would you blame me for the death of my son? That destroyed me. That started my path on trying to figure out how to cope with people blaming us for my child's death. So the Christopher hit the back of his head, and on the tile floor in my kitchen underneath was a slab of concrete. So remember, I thought he was choking on a cookie, and that's not what it was. So he went to bed and everything normal that night. But the next day when he had a seizure, I guess apparently he had it formed a clot or something in his head, and his brain bled, and he had similar signs. Well, you know what? Let's just put it blunt. What the doctors told me was he had all the signs of shaken baby syndrome. So, but it was, oh my, I could go, there's so much in my head right now. I can't even, I'm trying to focus here. So the signs of shaken baby syndrome are the same as if, let's say you hit your head and you get a clot and you bleed. So you get a retinal hemorrhage. My son had all of those signs. So they were blaming it on us. They berated me, screamed at me, told me that I killed my son. I was so exhausted mentally, emotionally. I just wanted to go home and be with my other child who was 2 years old at the time. I just remember putting my head down on the table and saying, like, can I go home and can we pick this up tomorrow? Let me make the long story short because I really, this is the part that really triggers me. I ended up going in front of a grand jury because, well, first of all, my husband was home to see him fall. Thank God, because he was my witness that he fell. So I was in front of a grand jury. Now, anybody can tell you that the grand jury can indict a ham sandwich, basically. So you're usually encouraged not to tell your story. But I'll be damned if there were going to be, I believe it's 23 or 24 people. 23 to 24 random people are going to decide my fate. That what, I can't go home to my son because you think that I did something wrong? I'll be damned. So I told my story from start to finish. And thank God, nothing ever came of that. It did hit the newspapers because at the time, there was a baby. Her name was Mariah Schoon. And her dad, I don't know if I should say all this, but anyway, there was a case. You can look it up if you'd like. Mariah Schoon. And they went through something similar. I don't know really what happened with that. But my story hit the paper as well. And I believe Montel Williams, excuse me, their producer had contacted my attorney. Yes, I had to get an attorney. I had no money for this. You know, my husband and I had two small children. And so we went on the Montel Williams show. It was about people being falsely accused of child abuse. And I remember at the time, there was another story where a baby was scalded in a bathtub and they took the child away. and they took all the other children away, and then come to find out that the pipes in the apartment building were faulty. Now, did they give the child back? No. They never apologized. They never gave her children back. I don't know ultimately what happened, but it just goes to show you, even today, with what everything that my daughter is going through, CPS and the whole damn judicial system is corrupt as hell. The emotional turmoil that my husband and myself went through was like, I can't even describe what that's like. I mean, sometimes I would question myself. Did I do something wrong? I felt so guilty not taking him to the hospital the night before, but he did not show me any signs that anything was wrong. So I didn't take him. And I was very young too at the time. I believe I was 21. I do remember one thing. It's playing in my mind now. The detective was saying, "Come on, I know you're a young mom. You wanted to go out and drink and party, right? So you wanted to get rid of your son." No, no. I loved being a mother. I love being a mother. I love being a nana. I miss my child terribly. I wish that never happened to me. I don't know why it happened. I don't know. I know there's a reason for everything. And I hated that saying back then, but I do believe that. I believe it made me a stronger person. I don't know. Maybe my story now will help somebody. I don't know. But, so we went on Montel. We told the story. What happened there? Montel Williams actually came in the room and told me that he was going to do a second autopsy. Because when we did, let me go back for a minute. We had multiple conversations with the medical examiner, and he said it was an ongoing slow bleed. Now, I have a blood clotting disorder, and my son had a stroke while I was pregnant. So I don't know if there was some kind of an issue with clotting. I don't know. I know I have an issue. We don't know what it is. It's so rare. But I've had 12 to 16 pulmonary embolisms. My heart is failing. I probably have 2 to 5 years left in my life. I mean, I'm really not doing well medically. So I don't know. But Montel was going to do a second autopsy because when we picked up our autopsy, after speaking with this medical examiner multiple times for hours and hours and hours, he handed us an envelope. He said, "Go outside. Do not open this here." I remember walking down those steps and ripping that envelope open. And it's saying, cause of death, whiplash, shaken baby syndrome, and manner of death, homicide. Homicide. You know what the word homicide means. I mean, I don't know what to do to fight that, to get that changed, but that's not the case. And Montel never did do that second autopsy. I don't know why, but I don't know why. I wish he would have. And I wish I had the money to get it done now, but it wouldn't bring my son back. Christopher, thank God, is in the arms of Jesus right now, and I will see him again one day. So I don't know. But thank God my husband and myself never got arrested or I wasn't indicted. I had a lot of people from Guiding Lights. My son at the time was a big character on the show, Peter Lewis Reardon. So they wrote a lot of letters, character reference letters. It was the hardest time in my life, the absolute hardest. But I'm going to end this here. The funeral is just a whole nother thing. It's really a blur. But there are things that stick out to me. And it's really not good. I hope that if there's anyone else going through this, I hope you're not alone. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. And hopefully there's nobody else that went through what I went through with being blamed. I mean, that's how do you deal with that? I started drinking and doing drugs after that. My husband and I, we split up. I mean, your marriage is really tested when you lose a child. But that right there started the road of my downfall. I've never been the same again. A part of me died that day, and I'll never get that back. Thank you for listening.